5 ways to create equal height columns in HTML CSS. Let us start with a dummy div container. Then add 3 columns, each with a different number of items. To create equal height columns, simply set the container to flex layout. If you need equal column width, set flex 1 on all the columns. Lastly, revert the container to block display on small screens. This will collapse the columns into rows. Another easy way to create equal height columns is to set the container to grid layout. Similarly, revert to block display on small screens to collapse the columns into rows. This is an alternative way to create equal height columns. Set the container to display as a table, and the columns as table cells. On small screens, collapse into rows by reverting both to display block. This is an old-school method. It works, but is not recommended as a modern-day solution. First, create the columns with float left. To create equal height columns, hide the overflow on the container. Set a very large bottom padding on the columns, and counter it with a negative bottom margin. On small screens, remove the float to collapse the columns into rows. Lastly, also revert the bottom padding and margin. This final one is also an old-school method, not recommended as a modern-day solution. First, create the columns with float left. Hide the overflow on the container. Then, create the fake equal columns using a linear gradient background. On small screens, remove the float to collapse into rows. Remove the linear gradient background and set the colors of each column. That's all for this short tutorial. Like and subscribe for more.